I'm going to show you how to convert from a steel fuel line to a flexible AM fuel line, or I'm going to end up burning down this Cobra. Welcome to Ward Wrenching. If you saw in the previous video, we installed a new steel line here, and then we had these automotive fuel filters put in. Problem is the steel line won't stop leaking, and we were about to do a test drive and we had the fuel just start leaking again after we thought we fixed it. So I don't want to risk an engine fire. So instead of just trying to mess with the steel line, we're going to take out the steel line and all this other rubber line and this steel up here, and we're going to put in a Earls Pro Lite 350 line. So that's like a braided nylon flexible fuel line. And how the Cobra is set up right now is we go from steel at the tank to rubber to the fuel pump to steel and then back to rubber up here. So this upgrade that we're doing today, we're going to do the front half of the car from fuel pump forward. It's going to be all one piece of material, or all one style of material, which is that braided line. And then we'll drop the tank and we will do the back half. So the only disadvantage with this new style line is that it costs a lot more money than the standard steel line with the fittings. So what we need for tools is our standard tools, but there's a couple specialty tools that you're going to need. This is a vise block. It goes into your vise and it has magnets to help it stick. It's made of aluminum, so that way you can hook onto your fittings and you don't have to worry about marring them up. And then you're going to need a aluminum wrench, and then links to all of these will be in the description below. You're going to need your fittings. So we have the female fittings, and these are going to go on our hose. And then you have the male fitting. That's going to go on, say, the fuel pump. It's going to go on the fuel pressure regulator. And then I went ahead and ordered this, and this is all from Earls. This is all one brand, so I kept everything the same. This is going to hook up to our carb. So it's going to get rid of that steel connector going from 2 ports to 1, and it's going to be all AM line, brand new. You're going to need a Sharpie. I'm using a paint Sharpie here, and we'll get into the why later. You're going to need your pipe sealant, and we'll explain that. And then you're going to need a way to cut it. I'm going with a grinding wheel here, but you could use any type of special cutter made for the lines. You're going to need electrical tape. All right, so now we need to jack up the car so we can get under it and get that old steel line out. Make sure you always put some type of cover over your fenders. Keep yourself from scratching it with your belts or your pants zipper, whatever. Don't want to scratch up your nice paint. Now we're going to disassemble the steel line down here, and that runs from here to the fuel pump. Once that's out, then we'll start disassembly of this part right up here. Alright, now we're going to cut this line here. I'm going to try to use this pair of alignment tools. Never use any type of spinning blade that would cause a spark. We have a NPT to AN thread here. That's going to be going to the carburetor. And then we have an NPT to AN thread here, and that's going to go from fuel pump up to the regulator. All right, now that we have our fuel pressure regulator done along with our first end on the line, we're going to put this in the engine bay. We'll run the line back to the fuel pump, so that'll tell us how much line we actually need. Then we'll mark the line and we'll put a fitting on that end. We're going to put a new fitting, or a fitting, on this line here. So we've measured it out to the fuel pump, so we want to mark it here. So the first step is we need to get some electrical tape. You want to wrap it real tight. That's critical. You got to make sure it's really on there, and you want to put it in a vise so that way it's holding the line straight for you. And actually, I don't like how this one's sagging, so we're going to back it off a little bit. A little more. Okay, then we got our wheel. We're just going to cut it right off. Okay. Next step, you want to take the electrical tape off of it. Get yourself your scissors. You want to cut these little pieces of fray off. Right. Grab your fitting, take it apart. Take the red piece. We got a little oil over here, a little brake fluid. We're just gonna lubricate this channel here so that way it'll slide in a little easier. Get started and twist it in. And you want to go about 1/8 of an inch before or you want to go all the way to the threads, and then we're going to back it out a little bit. But first, let's get it mounted. So now we are against the threads. We want to pull this off just a tad to give us about 1/8 of an inch. We want to take a paint marker. We just want to mark it right there. So that way when we assemble it, we can see if this line has moved it all off of the fitting. Grab those aluminum blocks. Get your vise open. So now that your blocks are in, you want to take your fitting and we want to mount it like this. You want to make sure it's on there. You don't have to go too tight, but you want to make sure it's stable. And then before we do anything else, we want to take some of that brake fluid and coat these threads and coat the nipple. Just really get it lubricated. It's going to protect you from cross threading. It's going to make everything easy. Get the inside of your red fitting nice and lubricated. So now we're going to push it on and twist, and we're going to go as far as we can by hand. Okay, we've got it started. Now we want to verify that it's not cross-threaded. So if you look, looks good to me. Open her up. Back on the red fitting is where this is going to want to mount. Nice, and make sure it's lined up. grab your aluminum wrench, and this one we're going to turn it to 6. Start turning. Now cinch it down until it's about 0.060 inches from bottoming out, and you'll feel it when you get the resistance. And bottoming out, I mean the fitting hitting the other fitting, not bottoming out like you can't move your wrench. You'll feel your wrench stop, and you'll look, and it'll basically be right there. But take your time. You don't need to go fast. Do not use a socket on it. Just use a good aluminum wrench. Okay, let's check it. We're getting there. Okay, I feel like it's bottomed out, or at least I can't move my wrench more. And you can see you got that little gap right there, and that's what they mean. Now you have your line and fitting. It's all connected. Verified this hasn't moved. So that is how we get the line made. So let's go throw it in the Cobra. All right, now we have our line here. We're gonna take this plug off. We've disconnected the line up top in the gas tank, so that way it stops the siphon effect which we were having. So I'm gonna take this out, get this NPT to AN adapter. Now we always wanna use thread sealant on the NPT threads, but never on the AN threads. So just remember that. AN threads don't need any type of sealant, but the NPT do. So this is nice. Loose. Spray gas everywhere, that's great. All right, stop dripping. It's nice and dried off. Just double check it, and we'll throw our adapter in. We'll use our aluminum wrench. Okay, it's nice tight. Grab your line and just thread it on. Okay. Line it up. We'll get some more zip ties and get this line nice and tied down. So I've gone ahead and we're upgrading all of this line here from rubber to AN because I'm already installing the AN line back there, and I want the whole fuel system to be one type of line. I don't want to do rubber, steel, or rubber anymore. I want it to be one type of line. So that's what we'll be doing. Once we get all of this installed, we will work on dropping the tank and start working on from the fuel pump back. Now that we have our line ran from the fuel pressure regulator to the fuel pump, we're going to go ahead and start working on installing the line up here at the front of the engine. So we have the new earls system installed here in our carburetor. We're going to have a fuel pressure gauge attached here. We'll have a line run to the fuel pump or fuel filter into the fuel pressure regulator. I've dropped the tank. I have a OSHA certified block here, and then another jack. And what we did is up under here, I'll turn the light on for you. We got the rubber to steel back to rubber line, Jesus, off. So we're gonna be putting a earls fitting on here that's gonna go from hardline to AN, and then it's just gonna be AN all the way to the fuel pump. And then we know already that the fuel pump to the carburetor is AN. And then I got a little exhaust line that I just need to throw a new rubber on that one, but that's no big deal. So we'll get some parts ordered and we'll get it done. All right, so now that the line is done from the fuel pump to the carburetor, we're gonna get some parts ordered and we'll do the steel tank to the fuel pump, and then we'll start it up, do some leak checks, and hopefully take it for a drive. So let's get some parts ordered, and then I'll see you on the next day. All right, it's the next weekend. We are going to convert the fuel tank from steel to AN, and then we'll get a fuel filter installed on the back end, get that line from tank to pump installed. We'll let everything dry and seal, and then we should be back on the road. So the way this works is this end is going to go over the steel line, and then this is our AN part. So it's real tight underneath the car, so I won't be able to show you, so I want to show you here. This little collar is going to slip over the steel, and then this part will go on with the collar in. And then all we do is we'll just tighten this down. All right, now that everything's hooked up, gas tank's back in, everything's been tightened down, retightened, let's turn on the fuel pump, see what we get. All right, here pump running, looking for leaks. Not seeing any leaks down here. So shut her off. Let's come back around, let's check and see what kind of pressure we're running on the pressure gauge. With the car off. Let's see what it maxes out at. So we're shooting up there. We're getting to about 9.5. So doesn't tell us as much as when the car's running. So we got all the tarps off. Let's crank her, see if she fires, and keep looking for leaks, because we don't want a fire like last time when we were running on them steels. It's in neutral, the pump's on. Kicked right on. Let's see what kind of fuel pressure we're running at idle. Running at about 8 PSI. Is that enough? Sure, I don't know. Before it was running out at 7 and we kept having issues, but like I said before, that could have been clogged lines or something. Sounds healthy on a cold start. I don't want to rev her too high because obviously it's cold. So next step we're going to do, shut her down. She's running. Let's get her on the ground, get her off these blocks, get her outside and let her get up to temp. Let's take her outside, get her heated up temp, check everything out, and that way if it catches on fire, it's not in the middle of the garage. Got her up and running. Good. Not seeing anything crazy. Fuel pressure's sitting right there at 7.5, 8. That's 8. We're chilling there at 8. See how she likes that. Right now we're looking for just leaks, anything wild, insane. It's just some trash getting blown out the exhaust. Let's climb up under. Not seeing any leaks back here. Yeah, she seems happy. We'll let her get up to temp and we'll come back. So the fuel system's nice and happy. Everything's running great except for when we hit hard acceleration. Freaking thermostat gasket sprayed water everywhere, sprayed coolant everywhere. So I'm thinking I need to replace this neck here. It's pretty old and it's probably caused the leak or something, so we can just put a new one in there, new gasket, and that should fix that up. But as far as fuel system goes, super simple, went on easy, works great, no issues, can't complain. That'll do it for today.